All right, so I know this was unannounced. That's basically how I do things anymore. I can't really schedule things other than the way I've been doing it through Patreon and so on and so forth, and on Saturdays. Looking to put together a workshop for that. And at this stage, it's not a workshop, hasn't been. But all the materials and everything that is going to be used is present within Patreon at this point. So I'm going to wait here a little longer, I guess, and I'll give it another 10 minutes. Nobody shows up at all. I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to leave. All right, so until then, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I had put in within the title. This has to do with the creative imagination. Good to have you here. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to talk about the creative imagination and really just kind of leave this open for people. Um, where's everybody at with that? Because it's really about that while we're here. And for me, a lot of things get in the way of that. And it's really, for me, it's the catalyst for doing anything here. It is not about overcoming necessarily. It's not really about, um, certainly isn't about sacrifice. It certainly isn't about a big mission either. It's about reintegrating with your true nature and being able to express that through your signature of who you are, your authenticity, and love working through that. Because I always found that love works the greatest for me when I'm free. And I'll go ahead and say this applies to everybody. When you feel free within you, then within that expression is where you're most effective because you're expanding, and you really can't. I'll rephrase that. I found that I really can't help others unless I'm expanding within myself. I have to have that freedom, and the creative imagination is it. So I'm going to play a little clip. It's in reference to our ascending love. It comes from my book, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our creative imagination and our calling, if you will. Who are we authentically, and are we substituting that for other things? And it's just a way to observe what's going on within us so that perhaps we can readjust what's going on. And I've been running into this quite a lot for myself here. And I just wondered if it was a common thing with people. There's a few people that have come within my path, and they're mentioning that they're going through a lot of different things. And it's transitional. And there's a whole lot involved with that. But I like to keep everything simple. So it's about your creative expression, your creative ability, your imagination. Nothing has ever been created within this construct. Nothing exists that wasn't first imagined. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, and I'll be back if I can click on it.
To know you are a creator is to understand the responsibility that comes with it. Free will may be a gift, but it certainly comes with the cost of accountability, for within this construct of at one meant, what one creates affects the many. Here within this fallen reality field embodying unconditional love becomes the greatest challenge. Navigating through a fallen world with the intent to assist for the betterment of that world can be extremely difficult. And then you begin to realize it's not about struggling, laborious effort, or sacrifice, but rather It's about using the creative imagination, being truly present in the moment and letting go. Through a simple proclamation, we may reset our intention. Quote, I am a wonderful co-creative being that works through loving intention of the creative imagination. Being in manifest reality and at the same time being perceptive of oneself as the embodied expression of the source is the state of true self-actualization. This creates the competent ability of unwavering, unconditional love. It is also important to understand that our genuine, unique, sovereign expression really does matter, and this isn't about mimicking or surrendering to someone or something. This is about our true self-realization, the love we've always been. We are amazing.
I have to turn this back up. That pretty much summarizes it. If you haven't had the opportunity to listen to my book, which is a lot easier to do than reading it, I would recommend it. So, and there's two, me and you, my friend. All right. So, there's really nothing else I can say outside of what I just shared there within the clip from my book. What I'm going to be doing here, and this is one of the things I've been struggling with, trying to juggle a lot of different things. When I just want to really do one thing, I mean, I'm 64 years old. I've been through the ringer, as the expression goes, and then some again and again and again. I'm not really interested in what's going on within the political realm. I'm not interested in what's really going on in the world. I have no desire to be on some panel talking about what the things we should do. I'm more interested in doing the things that we already know to do, you know. And for me, my story is through my art. My art is my expression of my authenticity through art form. And I have a musical coming up that a really good friend of mine, I've mentioned this before, but I'll go ahead and do it again because it's quite relevant, by the name of Paul Garthwaite, that he's been a director and a performer on cruise ships for quite some years, he and his wife. And he booked a particular ship, which is called a theater ship, that has the platform and it's designed specifically for performance, to do a well, he's the one, he's put this all together, so I'm just trying to catch up, and I really need to spend the time to be able to catch up on this. It has to do with my book, Picking Apples Under the Milky Way. So he's doing a musical on my book. And so I really just want to spend the next 2 months just working on that, because it's a lot of effort and a lot of work, and it needs to be focused strictly within that area. I've been doing what I've been doing in Patreon here. I've been looking to try to set up workshops. I'm not really interested in teaching as much as I'm looking for people to co-create and do with what they have to offer. And I provided all the materials. I worked on all that, and I made it very simple. In other words, to the point in regard to our multidimensional anatomy, because it's a course, part of what I have on Patreon primarily at this point, it deals with that, and it narrows down to 3 aspects of that multidimensional anatomy, which is the monad, the azare, and the tauron. Okay, and I look to make it as simple as possible, and the other aspect of that in respect to our multi-dimensional anatomy and navigation within the cosmic manifest template is also our spirit song, or known as soul song. And I put together all the materials in order to be able to teach how to do this. I don't know anybody out there that's doing that. Okay? And I can't just spend time with that if nobody's really interested, when I'd rather be doing the things that I know to do for myself, where my gifts are at, where my abilities, all the things that I've put myself in. And it's sort of like this. Well, it's not sort of like this. It's literally like this. I don't mind preaching to the choir, but I'm more interested in giving the message or encouragement and renewing of the individuals that would never hear any of these things that are being spoken of. And through music, it goes right into the person. No one's putting up any shields. Nobody's, defending against what you're saying. When it comes to music, especially beautiful music, it just comes right through and it does the work. And that's really that's my forte. That's my calling. That's where my creative imagination is. That's where my love flows. That's where my genuine sense of being flows. My energy is able to be administered. And this is part of my past. I was used to doing this within people within the same room, within an auditorium or wherever it was. And that is not really the case here within the online situation. It's a different thing altogether. It's taken many, 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 many years, 14 years. If I spent 14 years doing what I've been doing here in the real world, it would be much, much more different than what it is here. It's been quite, honestly, struggle. It's been a struggle. And I don't see the benefit of struggle anywhere when you're trying to serve through your creative imagination. It gets stifled and it gets squished, and you go, okay, where am I supposed to go with this? Is this all for me? It's like, what's the point? If it's all for me, then why am I doing what I'm doing? And it's not all for me. That's the whole thing. That's not the desire of my heart. There's a need to share and to co-create and to be of service when to be of service, meaning that you have the ability to be of service. And especially for those who've prepared for a very long time and have been doing it out throughout their life. And for me, it's been decades of doing that. Something's amiss when you can't make that connection, and you used to do it, and you used to personally have a longing for that again. I'm reaching the age where I'm crossing over. I'm not going to be here for very long. This is really the time for me to do all the things I'm going to do and then let go of all of it. It's very important, if I might emphasize for everybody as an individual, make sure you follow your path. Don't follow somebody else. Encourage other people, respect, honor, but follow yourself. And it's really simple to know what that is. Say, well, what am I supposed to do? Some people ask the question, well, so what do you love to do? I mean, what is the thing that you haven't done, may have not have done, but you really always really wanted to? And start examining that and find the simplest answer for it. And it usually has to do with an expression of yourself that's unique, regardless of what it is. And take that and move it into, the prime mover, if you will, within your life. And it takes renewing your mind to it. It takes encouraging yourself. I've been encouraging myself for years. I've been holding on to certain dreams for over 40 years. So that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. It's not easy, but it's the only path because it's your path, is what I'm saying. Well, I'd rather not see love as a law. I prefer not to see it that way. I prefer to see it this way. You are the love that you've always been. That's not a law. That's a state of being. I'll see certain people right now, and there's a whole lot of things going on, and there's a shifting and a lot of things coming to the surface, and all things are revealed. All things will be revealed. It's just the way it is. And it's not a matter of condemning anything, because it's important to understand this, really important to understand this. and to renew one's mind to this fact. Manifest reality is the way that you're experiencing yourself differently. It is not who or anything that's in manifest reality is what it really is. What it really is the love it's always been. Your brothers and sisters on the other side, regardless of all the craziness that takes place within manifest reality. Manifest reality is a tool that we're looking to experience ourselves differently and to be able to create differently, put ourselves in different circumstances and situations and stations of identity in order to be able to co-create, as well as, well, creating like a co-creator, because it's twofold, as a co-creator and as a source prime creator, both, because you're both. Okay? Different function according to the aspects of identity. It's like what a soul is. I'm digressing a bit, but it's in context. What a soul is, there's a difference between spirit and soul. What a soul is a subdivision of your spiritual energy. And within certain aspects of identity, which are referred to as stations of identity. It's a subdivision of your energy, all taking place at the same time. There is multitudes of yourself. I've been in two parallel worlds embodiment of myself. I am exactly the same as I am here. Okay? So, long story short is that where I was going with this, I see this people talking about, what's going on and yada, yada, yada. And the way I look at it is I see it from the other side. Okay? And I see what I do here, what's important, most important, is working through my true nature. That's it. It's not about telling people what they should do or what they shouldn't do or what's going to come up next or to prophesy or that. I find that I'm 64 years old. I find that just ridiculous. Okay? Absolutely ridiculous. What's important is the simple things. It's really the simple things. And to encourage one another in the process and to celebrate one another in the process. As the saying that I use, which is true, wherever you are, there you be. So whatever state that you're in and whatever you're looking to do, whatever your desire is within the moment that you're in, that is you, where you're at. There's a reference to the idea of splitting off, right? This is going this way and this another aspect is going this way. Well, you are where you're at. And knowing who you truly are, that doesn't matter what direction, wherever anything goes. Let me try to clarify this a little bit better. I had a friend of mine who older than I am. He's about 72, I think is what he is now. And he was pretty adamant for a while about being here, And he kind of shifted over the last couple years or so to where he now says within himself, he says, if I come back here, that's fine. Because you get to a certain place where wherever I am there because I intended to be there. There's a lot of things that people have to do still yet here that will find themselves coming back here if the body expires. Because they choose to. And they have already chosen while they're here, even when they're saying, I don't want to ever come back here again. No, when you start to reintegrate more of yourself, you say, I'm willing to go wherever I want to go. Because you're an immortal, You're an immortal spiritual being. And who you really are is not what you're experiencing yourself differently as. Especially within these outer worlds like this, where you have to reintegrate in order to get back enough of your pre-existence. And your idea of pre-existence doesn't come with memories. It doesn't even come with the experiences. Okay, like what I was talking about, I was in parallel worlds. Sure, those things can be helpful, all right? But really the true essence of your remembrance is through your love and a deep sense of knowing. You're most welcome. I mean, again, let's go back to the creative imagination, if we will, The creative imagination is really what we're working through that expresses our authenticity. Our authenticity is our true nature. Therefore, the frequency that's unique to us begins to illuminate or shine or brighten or be, increase, whatever adjective you would like to use for that. And that is really how we overcome with the circumstances so that we can keep moving forward. And as we keep moving forward, we gain a greater glory. Okay? Illumination, whatever you want to use. Hopefully you understand with what I'm saying. It's actually not all the other things that we may be doing. It has to be, especially in these outer worlds like this, where you become an amnesiac, it has to be simple connection for everybody, right? There has to be an easy access that can never be severed. It can be messed with, it can be altered, but remember this, you hold within you the key command code, and that is your will. So, as an example in respect to what I'm doing in Patreon and the multidimensional anatomy, this reason why I focus here, I'm focused on 3 aspects of that anatomy, which is the core of that anatomy, which is the monad, the azare, and the taran. They're just words, but let's make it simple. It is your gateway conduit aspect connection to source self. And the taran, supposedly, and I don't doubt this, had been shattered, okay, and then flipped upside down. But you know what overcomes that, and which heals it? Not a whole lot of technique and all this other stuff. No. That's not what does it. Your sure will does it. What do I mean by that? Your sure will. Your sure will meaning your authenticity and your love heals everything. See, divine love is very specific. It's not a blanket thing. It can be felt that way, but in truth, you emanate a certain frequency and your love is very unique, just like you're unique to every other aspect of any other subdivision of energy within any field. Who you are is unique and unique to yourself. Therefore, your love is also unique in that regard. So, through your sure will, remember you hold within yourself the key command code. It's the master command code. And when you do that, and you go through what I've done here, I put together a ceremony. I'm not ready to present it yet, but I put together a ceremony that takes us through this quite quickly. The prerequisite for that is to learn the multidimensional anatomy the way I have laid it out, because I made it quite simple, okay? And there's certain things that you can do that just helps that process, and some of it I put to music so it makes it easy to memorize. Long story short, that needs to be there first, so going into the ceremony, you know exactly what you're going into, and everything can happen really quick within that. And at the same time, being able to initiate, stimulate, and start getting your own spirit song back, your personal spirit song. Okay? And I go through how to be able to do that. It's not through chelantic science. I'm using chelantic science, okay? But this is my thing, all right? You won't find this in cheilontic science. If it's there, I have no idea if it's there. I'm sure it's not. Okay? I'm just making the point. This goes back to authenticity. What you have to offer, what you have to give, be confident of what that is. And you have to dive into it. Let me give you an example of what I'm referring to as diving into it. Your own self. Think of yourself at the edge of a cliff. Okay, this is an imagery for releasing. Okay, think of yourself at the edge of a cliff, and below there's a body of water. Now that body of water is who you are in your infinite aspect of self. The idea of being on that cliff and being in the position that you're at may feel fearful. You may have apprehension, all these things going on. But just make the decision to fall into yourself. And when you fall into yourself, it starts to transmute those connections that were established through fear. Okay? And as you know, within this world, fear runs pretty deep, and it hides itself within the crevices within with our body and everything else. So falling into self and just knowing that you're more than enough. Who you really are, there is no greater. Okay? You are the love that you've always been, which is extremely powerful. It's what holds everything together. You know, we're not the fear. Fear is an artificial emotion. It's fake. The experience can be real because us as immortal spiritual beings, we become the very thing we believe, think, or think we should be. So master command code is our what? It's our will. So it's aligning ourselves to our true nature and falling into it. And within that comes forward our true expression. True expression. Having a hard time with my mouth here. So it's something that I have to every day, especially here over the last almost 3 weeks, it's been really, really difficult for me. I mean, everything. But you do what you know to do, and then you do a little bit more, you know, and then you've done as much as that you could, and then you release it and just kind of step back. Eventually you start getting that momentum back again, and that's what I find myself doing, okay? So we're going to go through these hills and valleys, right? We're going to be up at the top, and we're going to be like, oh, we're cool. We're doing good. And then we're going to do these things, go into the valley, and it's like, oh, I got to get back up the hill again. And that's how it's been, you know? It's, par for course, right? It is what it is. Well, we just keep moving forward, and we keep looking to manifest and speak things into existence that are not presently there. But we see them as already done. We see it as already happening. It's important to renew our minds to this. And it's really hard in this world to do this, but in order for that to be effective, it has to be, at least you have to remind yourself of doing it and just keep persevering until it becomes part of your routine, you know? So anyhow, for me, go back personally to what I'm looking to do and have been. I'm available on Saturdays. I've been providing I'm staying on course with the stuff that I've been providing in Patreon. Obviously, I haven't been doing too much here on YouTube. I'm redirecting myself where I need to go at this time. It's very important for all of us to be doing that. But you do what you can, is what I'm saying. And just move within where your affections lie. For me, again, let me get a little bit more personal. I won't go too far, but I'm an open book, okay? I really am, for the most part. At any rate, it's important let me rephrase that. What I have noticed now and have been noticing is that because of circumstances, I pushed some things down, a lot of things down, in order just to survive the circumstance that I was going through physically and all this other stuff that's happened, transpired over the last 6 years. And as of this time, present time, especially over the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks actually, there's been a whole lot of stuff coming up. And I have things that I have to do, finish within me here. And if I have to come back here for that, I'm coming back. Okay? As an immortal spiritual being, there's a freedom when you're able to do that, truly. But there's things that I haven't accomplished here. And there's things that need to be fulfilled within me. When you make the transition and leave, you have to separate yourself from what you've done. In other words, there needs to be a point of satisfaction with what you've done so that you're free within it. But if you have something that you feel like, I needed to finish this. And I'm the type of personality, so to speak, maybe that's the wrong word to use, but I'm the type of being that I'm very tenacious, and I really require a certain order to things. I don't function well in chaos. I have to have it. So if I plan on doing something and it may be 40 years old, I still want to do it because I'm not willing to let go of it because it was important. Okay? And this goes into a lot of detail in regards to myself, which I'm not going to bore you with any of that, but you can extrapolate the idea, holding on to a 40-year-old dream. And it's not just a dream. It's a very significant aspect to my being and reason why I'm here and everything else. That has to be fulfilled one way, shape, or form within me. I'm accountable to myself for that. So there has to be a process for me to be able to go, okay, I'm good with it, or I move to the next stage or whatever it may be, and so that I can be free, because anything that you're doing here, anything that you're doing within a mission and everything that you do, it should be through joy and love. And if it's not through joy and love, and it's labor and it's struggling and it's strife, which this world breeds, then all it's really doing is conforming you to the hardship in order to try to succeed with it. So it's like a catch-22. You're in the process of letting go of it, but at the same time, you know that it is to be part of what you're to do, maybe not in this lifetime, but it's what you intended, whatever that may be for anybody specifically. I know what that is for myself in this lifetime, part of that anyhow, which is a huge thing. It's actually a huge thing. I don't share it with anybody because it's very personal, but it's powerful. And when things that are significant on that level for you personally, it's important to align yourself to that as a priority. Now, I can say that for myself. Other people probably can't say that. And the reason why is because they have other obligations to other people. I have no family. Okay? I have no children. Okay? I don't even have a pet anymore. Okay? And now, is that deliberate? Yes. All of that is. I intended long ago not to have children and not to be with somebody. Did I miss that? Of course. Are you kidding me? You think I didn't want to have a family? It's just part of what I decided to do that I didn't decide in my mind. I decided within the core of my being, and I was just kind of like following orders for a long time until I was aware of the reasons why I was doing what was happening and why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. This doesn't fit with everybody. This fits only with me, okay? But everybody has their own thing with what I'm saying. And hopefully that hasn't got lost. Is that it's important for you to do the things that you intend because you are an immortal spiritual being, and coming into a time field is temporary. And then you'll come back into it again. The idea coming into a realm like this, very few, if next to none, of anybody is going to be ascending within this construct. It's too difficult to do that. Is it possible? Of course it is. But is it probable? No, absolutely not. And because you're not the thing that you become within manifest reality, but that's experiencing self differently, in order for you to expand, to contribute to the perpetuation of creation as a co-creator, you can come back anytime, as many times as you wish, because you're an immortal, right? So there's what's important is while you're in manifest reality, that you're doing the very thing that you are. And coming into a place like this, it becomes extremely challenging, you know. But it's to the greater sense of our glory, which means our contribution as a co-creator within any universal construct. Again, to emphasize, we transcend any and all creations. Transcend. We're not born within anything. We've always existed. We've always been. There is no time from which we come. We have always been. So coming into a time structure, again, is for the purpose of expanding, perpetuating the creation, putting ourselves in situations, circumstances, challenging ourselves to further expand. And it is done through joy and love. And within outer worlds such as this that we're in here, there's probably places a lot more challenging than this is. But places like here, it could be quite challenging, and that's the whole purpose. I guess you can create a lot of analogies with this, you know. Okay, let's look at it within just this incarnation. You know, I'm looking at myself here. The things that I've suffered and really didn't think I was able to go through, I didn't think I was able to handle because they were so severe for such a long time. Long-term illness can do some really twisted things to your consciousness, okay? And how you are within the body and all this other stuff. It can do a number on you. Trust me when I say that, speaking from experience. So after the fact and years that was able to endure those things and go back, I go back within my mindset concerning those times and then see myself presently. And if I had not go through those things, I would not be able to go to a further place. My ability to endure and the extent of suffering that I have experienced has changed me. Okay? And it's not like it changes you to the better. For me, I was bitter for a very long time because of what it did to me. It just rearranged my whole chemistry and everything else. It made me just sick and miserable. Okay? There's nothing to say about that other than what it is. But in the process of overcoming, it gives you a greater sense of ability to be able to do things that you thought you would never be able to do. I mean, if you were just be thrown into something really intense, in most cases your mind would shut down, and depending on the extent of the trauma, the body would die. Okay? So being in manifest reality, like within these type of worlds and undergoing certain conditions, is really the things that we intended to experience. And here's the thing, because you can keep returning to it as long as it's around, lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes. So in one lifetime, you say, well, everything was great and grand. I was able to jump out of airplanes and do all this other stuff and do all these extreme sports, and it was a great life, And then, another life leading up to it starts to get much more challenging, where now you physically are put into, and very compromising and very suffering situations, which you really set up for yourself. And why would you do that? For a greater sense of glory. What is that glory? It's the contribution that you make within a creation field and the benefit that you now bring to it because your ability to expand within it through the experience. You have a whole lot to offer. You follow with what I'm saying? So it's really important for you to work through those things as much as possible within your authenticity and joy and love. You will continue to put yourself to test within each lifetime. Each experience you come within manifest reality, even if you come into it and you go, okay, I'm going to ascend back to the point of my first home within this particular source field. But then you'll just turn around and come back through it again. If that's what you decide to do. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't end. You know, you can have breathers in between it. You know, when you go outside of time, you know, there's no time. I know where I'm going. I have a place that I created for myself. I know where I'm going. I know what it looks like. I know where I sit. I know where my place of solitude is within that place that I created. It's a sanctuary. It's a place of rest, deep contemplation, reintegration. It's important, again, creative imagination. There is nothing that has been created that wasn't first imagined. It's a consciousness construct. Everything is inward. The external is the illusion that we create for ourselves. All right, I think I pretty much said everything I was going to say today. If anybody's interested in doing Saturday workshops, I don't know how long that's going to last. It depends on who's interested. If only one person is interested, I will stay with it as long as I can. But then again, to emphasize, there's transition taking place. And there's transition taking place for everybody, but especially for myself. And you have to, as who you are. You owe nothing to nothing except for yourself. What you do affects the many, however. Let me not leave that out. But you're sovereign, and that responsibility of what you need to do is what you intended to begin with before you came here. I'm digressing a bit. Long story short is that I'm available and I'll be doing what I'm doing until I'm not doing it. You know, I've been here on YouTube for 14 years. I never treated it like a business. You know, I just never really connected to that end of things ever. I know how to do business. I was involved with different businesses before, but ever since when I was a child, or should I say when I was a young incarnate here, I never really connected to money because within my spirit I knew that it was a controlling factor of those who would be tyrants. And so I never really connected to that energy, you know. And so that's the reason why I personally have been kind of focusing on just donations, is because that's freely given. That's not connected to the world. That's freely through the heart of the person and that's the way that I was in Christianity too. Same thing. I had the same thing. I didn't believe in tithes or anything like that. It's like you just give through what the value of what you think it's worth to you, that's what, and what you're able to give, whatever it is. It's an expression of love. It's meant to be a joy to be able to give. All that I've been doing for the most part, for the majority, is I've been giving of myself, giving of my life, giving of my time, all the things I've been doing with that. And it's intended, and it is, when it's done freely within you and you're able to do it freely, it's a joy. It's not a duty. So giving is not really, it's not a duty. It's not like an obligation. It's meant to be a joy. And that's only happens when one's free enough to be able to do that within themselves. And I remember when I was in Christianity, I guess I'm telling stories now. I remember when I was in Christianity, I have experienced some interesting things where people, and I've done this myself, and it's so nice to be able to do that is this. I've seen people that when they've seen somebody that had needs something, and the person came up to me and said, do you have like $5, whatever? And so the person goes in their wallet and they pull it out, and they pull out a 10, right? And they just said, forget it. And they just reached in their wallet and they pulled out all their money and they handed it to them. I've experienced that for myself where I could do that. It's like I just free and within myself to do that. And it's such a joy to be able to do that, where you just, because the thing of it is about having a so-called nonprofit aspect to any organization is that you're not tying yourself into the world in its system. When you tie yourself into the world in its system, then there's a cording of energy that can come through the back door. This starts to get into a slippery slope, because I've had a lot of experience with this. I've seen a lot of demonic activity manifestations and stuff because of certain attitudes and certain constraints and holds, like within certain Christian institutions, certain churches. I've seen this take place, and this is just not exclusive to that. I'm just saying this applies to the whole world. And even where there's an opportunity where the doors open, it will come through. And this is one of the downfalls that I've seen with the Keylontic Science movement. They moved from a nonprofit to a corporation. All the time that I have spent with business, personally, in the business world, which hasn't been a whole lot, but it's been there. I've dealt with cities and stuff like that. Everything that I've seen on a that's within a corporate level, what's in an organized level like that, is all there's corruption at the heart of it. Always. Sorry. It's only with the individual that I see that not to be. And that's the uncommon man and woman, which is just a remnant within this world. That's been my experience. Okay? Years of experience within that. It's just my experience, but you can see the reasons why if you understand actually what's been ruling this world. Okay? So it's important to do whatever you do within a sense of freedom and joy, and not obligation and duty. That's the reason why I'm not so big on the idea of a mission. I don't mind going on a mission, okay? I don't mind that, but I don't see myself as having a mission. It's just me reintegrating myself and being authentic and giving what I have and influencing my sphere around me in the way that, I can naturally, or would be authentically. Even those terms kind of bother me, But doing what you know to do is not complicated. It's just everything in this world makes it complicated, or can. Having a freedom is very important within you. I recognized this early on within the early part of this incarnation. I said to myself, I think I was 6 years old when I said this to myself: I don't have to do anything but die. Which was this kind of this rebel aspect within me that came from previous lifetimes, It's like what I was saying to myself is what is important that you do is for you to do you, to be you, to truly be you, and not to do what everything else tells you to do. I mean, there's respect and honor that you give to people. And, like if a peace officer pulls me over, I'm going to honor and respect that. I'm not going to contend with this person, regardless how much I may know about constitutional law. Okay. My cooperation, because of the energy that I'm holding, is much more important than me being on some grandstanding position of, truth. Honor where honor is due, make space for yourself. Be a peacemaker. Calm the situation before anything happens. Make sure that takes place before anything can happen. And if you see something that is an obstacle to you, divert your energy from it. Walk across the road. Keep away from it. Only do that what you're able to do. Going back to what I said, the only thing I have to do, when I was 6 years old, only thing I have to do is, for this to expire. Truly, that's really the truth. I don't think of the Galactic Federation or anybody, but I may, I'll say a couple things about the whole idea of this externalization thing. I'll just speak from my personal position on this. Earlier in my life, I had connection, okay? And then at a certain point in my life, I cut it off. And I did that purposely because it had to do with my own intention. There has to be an equality. I wrote about this on my website, called Boots on the Ground, okay? If anybody's interested, go to my website. You go to where I have this article. It's the only article I have there that I had written called Boots on the Ground. If you want to read that, you'll get my viewpoint on all this, okay? But it's about us here, hence the term, hence the title Boots on the Ground. We're the way showers, okay? We are the way showers. We're here. We're our boots on the ground. We're the infantry, whatever way you want to express it. We're here. What we say, what we do matter, not what anybody else says. What we say, what matters. Your divinity, who you are, is not any lesser here than anywhere else within this universal construct. So-called higher self, I don't like that term. You're divine wherever you're at. And you've chosen to be here. So what you have to say is important. Not the Galactic Federation of Light, not any title that goes with any of this stuff. I can care less about any of it. Only thing that I'm concerned about is what I do. It goes back to sovereignty. You are more important, boots on the ground, than anything that's flying around above you. If they want to help, fine, but there's something involved with that, okay? And it's called free will. The reason why those who are benevolent, I'm digressing a bit, but those who are benevolent do not extend themselves is because the way the construct works. It's easy to get yourself pulled into this. We've chosen to be here. Most of us have chosen to be here. And to influence somebody directly, okay, and indirectly, without invitation, is a violation of free will. GSF? What is that, Zach? I don't know that acronym. Is that what that is? Anyhow, hopefully you got with where I'm going, but I would recommend going and reading that what I had written on my, it's on my website. It's called Boots on the Ground. Yeah, God, sovereign and free. Okay. Yeah. I got a song I wrote 10 years ago called that. Or is it, I think it's 10 years. Maybe, it might be longer than that. But about 10 years anyhow. God, um, actually, it's called something else. But it's sovereign and free is involved with it. Yeah. But right on, man. Yeah, right on. Yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't want to sound like I'm poo-pooing on anybody within this construct by saying not really wanting to have anything to do with it. It's your path is your path, is what I'm saying. And when you're walking within your own sovereign path, what's important is who I'm co-creating with here that has chosen basically the same thing that I've done here, to have boots on the ground and, be at point zero, so to speak, ground zero, right? And we we don't really need any help. We just need to come together and co-create with one another and reintegrate enough of who we are so that we can demonstrate what we're doing within power, because through demonstration of power. That's really what it's all about. And the whole thing that I've been looking to do with the multidimensional anatomy and everything is just to empower. So power, true power, demonstration of power can occur. It's not learning stuff is pointless if it's not practical. If it's not something that becomes part of you, then it's really, what's the point? It's just one thing that you'll end up forgetting eventually, because it's like it's something outside of you. It's not like it's, relevant. It's just, oh, that sounds impressive, or that sounds interesting. That's clever. Well, that looks really good on paper. It's like, what's the point in all that? It's important to know, but you don't need to know much. You can have a belief in thousands of things. You can believe thousands of things, but there's a difference between believing and knowing, right? So knowing a few things I rather know a few things than believe thousands. And that's really been my focus for what I've been doing. And being authentic with what you're doing, and not substituting your real self and your real expression. Your real expression, that is who you truly are, not substituting it for something else because things and circumstances have become inconvenient. And I've done quite a bit of that, honestly. Nothing easy about being here, that's for sure. But my encouragement to you is like your creative imagination, question mark. The creative imagination, question mark. What are we doing what are you doing with yours? Where are you at with yours? Because, emphasize again, there is nothing that wasn't first imagined. We overcome through our authenticity, through our creative imagination. It is through that expression of authenticity through which joy and love flows through. When it's, again, to emphasize, when it turns into a duty and it turns into these other things, it's important for us to be able to try to readjust that and say, wait, this, you can feel within yourself when things go off base, and sometimes it just is the way it is here in this world, where you just end up feel like you're being forced into a square peg into a round hole. You feel like you're being forced, and it takes a while before you can kind of pull yourself out of that. So I'm trying to be encouraging, believe it or not. I'm going through my own stuff and have been, and I'm first and foremost, I'm always speaking to myself first, always. So please understand that. I'm not talking at anybody. If I'm talking at anybody, I'm talking at myself. And unfortunately, sometimes it sounds like I'm talking at other people, and I'm not. Speaking to me first. It's just a strong conviction, and I try to adjust myself as I go. and say what I just say things like what I just said in order to try to affirm what my intention is if it's not sometimes obvious. Yeah, I was in Christianity for 27 years, 15 years within ministry. I've seen just about all you can see and experience more things than most people have. I can tell you that. And it becomes semantics. It's important to understand what we see as within the Old Testament, the God of the Bible. It's not one. There's actually several, and they're not the creator of all things. Okay, that's another subject, and I'm definitely not going to go down that road. But truth, you'll find truth wherever you're looking for it. Okay, this is the truth. You'll find, just for the same reason, you'll find the boogeyman where if you're looking for it. You know, it's whatever your intention is, it will be facilitated. It's true. You know, so I mean, I was in Christianity within this incarnation for 27 years, so, plus or whatever. But I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade my experiences that I had, especially the first when I was 23 years old. I had a very powerful community experience that lasted for a year, and it was beautiful. Everybody loved one another. Everybody knew where everybody lived. Everybody took care of one another. It was just gorgeous love fest. Okay. I'm so fortunate to have had that experience. Okay. And that's not common. Okay. Let's be really clear about that. We're not talking about it being a cult. It was just beauty. The spirit of everybody was just it was so powerful. It was just so beautiful. And, it was pure. So, I wouldn't trade that for nothing. It's part of the reason, it's my experiences within the church and ministry and everything is the reason why I know a lot of the things that I know, And I can also see the fallacy in a lot of a lot of the so-called spiritual movements as well. I like no, I'm not going to be. I try not to say these things out loud, but I end up doing it anyhow. It's like within chelantic science, I see certain things that I know where it came from, but perhaps people that don't have the background that I do wouldn't see those things. But I know where they come from, and I know that it's not original. It doesn't come through, the way that there was a lot of engrafting of other things. Okay. So, yeah, but not to go off course here at this. What I'm referring to is our personal authenticity and the use of our creative imagination. Nothing has ever been manifested without it first being imagined. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So your creative imagination. That's the power. And that is fueled through your divine expression. The love that you've always been, the joy through which it flows. All right? Yeah. Well, this place is a ruse, right? There's a lot of falsehood. And there's a lot of hijacking and there's a lot of deception and everything. I mean, it's par for the course. And the thing of it is, you knew that before you came in here, right? And if you left the body, it's like, okay, it's like a wake up call back to what you already had known. But you've come in here anyhow, and you came in here for the reason so that you could experience self differently for your own benefit, but at the same time also contribute as a co-creator within it for the benefit of this world. And anybody that listens to my channel or anything similar to this or whatever the case may be, all of us are doing the same thing. That's, I mean, we do it differently, right? Because we're all different, but it's for primarily the same reasons, especially within this time cycle that we're in right now. I mean, we we planned that one out to be here, you know. Some of us came in 20, 30 years earlier, When you come into a time construct, sometimes it's kind of difficult for that to pan out the way that you want to, especially within a compromised and difficult world setting. This is a very, 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 very dense reality field, extremely dense, right? Yeah, fear is an artificial emotion. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when you're working through your divine nature, which is your authenticity, right? You see things you don't see you can't see it other than the beauty within you because you're seeing it through your own beauty, right? That's really what it is. You're the ones that's making that beautiful is when you see it. Yeah, that's a true story right there, It's really us because everything's internal. It's interesting because I remember hearing this some time back where somebody had this experience where they went out of the body and they couldn't see anything because they were in the void. And they go, I can't see anything. I said, I can't, I have no eyes. And then somebody says to them and laughs at them, says, he thinks he needs to have eyes to see. We're talking about physical eyes, right? Because it's all internal. Everything, our worlds that we create, that we experience, it's all internal. There is no external. The external is the illusion. All of it, all form, light, everything, that's an illusion. It's all internal. Well, you and me both, brother. I'll tell you that right now. Um, I'm not sure, brother or sister. I'm sorry. I don't know. It's hard through this online thing to know because people use different names and you know I've had people come on here where I knew who they were after the fact, but I didn't know for a while because they use these different names and stuff, and I'm used to their real name. Okay, and if I see a new name, I'm not quite sure. So if I make okay, sister, okay, thank you. I have a little handicap here. Oh, Ash, great. That's easy to remember. Okay. Um, yeah, it's your beauty, right? It's your beauty that you see things the way you see things. You're seeing it through your own beauty, right? And it becomes an amplification of that. That's has always been my experience, Is like when we're working through our authenticity and where the joy and love flows, we can't really see anything other than that. There's no, there isn't anything else. There's no need to be for anything else because that is so vast, right? Well, that would be. I was just guessing. So first of all, I have a hard time seeing, and it takes a while for me because I'm away from the monitor here, and I'm wearing these big bifocal type of things. I don't really see that well. I'm sitting there trying to make it out, and I have to stare at it for a while, and it looks. And before I can even start recognizing, certain letters I can recognize, but certain letters I can't, and then until I have to really look at it closely. See, now I finally read what your name is. You're using ashes to ashes. It took me that long to read that. It took me like 20, 30 seconds to read that. And it had nothing to do with you telling me that your name was Ash. I was just trying to read it. I can't read that well. I kind of get the gist of it, and that's the reason why sometimes I respond the way that I do for when people write stuff here. I really need to have this stuff closer to me, but it's just not the way the room is set up. It wouldn't hurt also for somebody to be in here helping me with this. But it is what it is. Yeah, you got it. You're seeing through yourself. You're seeing through yourself is what it is. See, this is the thing of it is like when people go out of the body and they may experience like being bathed with love. It depends on who's doing that because everything's frequency. Okay, so because everything's frequency, frequency can be replicated, and that means emotions can be replicated like a technology. And a lot of what has been used here to keep things the way that they are is through the replication of these different frequencies that we would relate to within our emotions. And because when you're in the field, even if you're out of the body, that doesn't mean really much of anything. It just means that you're out of the body, and you're still subject to the construct's design, in which your DNA structure on a template level, the blueprint level, can still be manipulated, meaning it can be pulsed with another frequency that would give you a certain feeling. And one may think that it's coming from these beings, and what it is coming from you, and it's being refracted back to you, or it's something that is being produced like a technology, but you wouldn't really know it if you didn't see it coming. I got plenty of stories and experiences with this and how this works, and I've throughout the years here on YouTube and within Facebook and different groups and stuff, I've talked about this extensively. So, yeah, I mean, without belaboring this point, is that been a whole lot of trickery that's been going on for a very, very long time within this world, and I mean, within this universe. Um, Not exclusive to this universe, okay, but it just, we come into this place and we become blank slated. We don't remember anything, and it takes certain things to be able to recall who and what we are. And even then, sometimes we don't really have a clear picture of what we really are. It's kind of like easy pickings here. We have to be quite the way showers to come here. I mean, this is a quite brave thing to do. It really is. To come into this world under these conditions. This is pretty hostile here. So, but that's what we decide to do. And like the example that you're giving for yourself, the idea is that you go through certain experiences and it allows you to reintegrate enough to where you go, okay, I know who and what I really am, at least on a feeling level, which is the most important thing, really. True, authentic sense of recognizing energy for what it is. Because I've had experiences with ETs where I have felt technology that was so organic, it was just really, it's hard to describe. But yeah, so that's another subject I want to get into. I was actually going to talk about that, for at some point, but I don't know. This is not the time for that. But that just so happened to come up within me as I was speaking. So my point being is that it's important for you to know your own energy. Nobody can trick you if you know your own energy. If you understand truly who you are, you can't be deceived. So somebody can come along and bathe you with love, but if it's not something you recognize, you can always just say, sorry, I don't recognize that. And this goes back to what I was talking about before in respect to your own divinity and your personal signature, and your love is unique to that. It's not a blanket love. It's a unique love that it's part of your uniqueness. And when you know that, right? And from what I can see, Ash, you do know that. That's for sure. I'm just talking here. I'm just saying. You're not going to get tricked. And even if you did get tricked, it doesn't really matter because you're an immortal. You'll find your way, you'll find your path again, if that happens. And we've all experienced that several times, I'm sure. I know I have. but it's part of it's course for par, right? I mean, I remember uh, being on a planet and it blowing up and me being flung towards Jupiter. It wasn't until last year or maybe 2 years, I'm not quite sure, everything's been kind of like a blur, that I realized when I went back into that memory of what I re-experienced during my first time being bedridden at 33, that was Maldek. So that's pretty long time ago, right? So I'm not a newbie, which is interesting because I had some people say that I'm new here. I'm not new. I know I'm not new. I don't exhibit anything that says new, you know? I was going to go off into something else, which I will not do. Is there anybody else here? Let me pull this out so I can move the cursor here. Ash and Zach, Ash and Zach. Well, two people's good. Oh, let me see. Sully and Carla. Okay, that was early or earlier. Okay. It would be nice if I could see how many people were here within it. It doesn't say on this chat. I don't know why that is. I don't know. Okay. All right. I was just taking a look. So, um, yeah, I counted four. Okay, five. Thank you. It's weird. It's weird on here in the OBS that I'm using. It doesn't show the amount. It shows everything else, which is kind of odd that it wouldn't show. It would. I don't know. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, let's see here. Does anybody want to talk about anything here? Discuss anything? The most of the things that I've seen have been within me. It's been revelation through reintegration and I've been here for a while and early on, oh man, I can speak of one incident that that blank slated me twice when I was 12 years old. 1972, I had the waking encounter, very profound experience. But after that, I had this missing awareness. I had this missing aspect of I like well the way that I put it, and the best way for me to put it, it's like if you're living in a house, which is you. Say you're the house, and one of the rooms that you had within your house is a library, and you had an extensive say you had an extensive library, right? And then one day, that room was sealed up, and you no longer knew that it existed. And that's how my memories were kind of blocked for years and years. It wasn't until I was 33 years old where they came back, and that was during the time when I was bedridden. And then I started having these floods of different stuff taking place as far as imagery and feelings, and I didn't know really how to make sense of it, and almost died there. I almost had a heart attack when when the planet blew up that I was on. One of the experiences I had was the planet blew up and I was being flung towards Jupiter. It was just real. I should have died right then and there because I I was reliving this. The sensation and everything was there. I'm surprised that I survived that. That's just really weird. But I had a lot of different experiences, and it took years and years and years and years and years and years for me to be able to process that, try to figure it out what it was. And you can't figure it out. It just, as you reintegrate more energy, it starts to become more obvious to you through feeling. It was never through imagery that I understood anything. It was always through a deep sense of knowing, a feeling that transcends this entire creation. It transcends all creation fields. It's who I am outside of it. And this is when I was aware that I transcend all creation. And I didn't know how to quite put that into words, for the longest time. But yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's all internal. You kind of shrink down into this virtually nothing thing. That's my experience, and it came with for me it came with a feeling of my energy. I recognize the energy because you may have heard the expression, if light is deceiving, okay? Because light is form, light is the illusion, light is an inversion of vibration, okay? But the energy or the frequency that's behind it, the intention or the encryption remains the same, and it's always discerning if you're able to discern through the energy. So I became sensitive to energy, reading it, and first learning how to read my own, or becoming refamiliarized with my own. And so it was through feeling that I would have all this knowing. It wasn't about imagery. It wasn't about being this or being there. Oh, I used to be this, and be able to tell this grand story. It wasn't anything like that. It was just pure, complete information that I could never speak with my mouth, but I could know within the core of my being. Okay? And it was a very long time trying to figure out a lot of this stuff well enough to be able to make transition within this world according to what my original intention was. All these words I use now, which I didn't have before. I was winging it. Nobody was showing me anything. Okay. I'm still kind of winging it. Yeah, it's again my experience. Going back to the idea of it's all internal. It was through energy, so on and so forth. It's not about the external. The construct is an illusion, and it's done through consciousness intent. The conscious construct is, hence the word conscious, is what's holding it together. It's a collective holding it together. It's the illusion. It's all internal. If it was to stop, I'm thinking that it has, there's other extended aspects of intelligence. I'm kind of grappling for words here. Okay, so apologies if I use the wrong word here, but I'll use the word artificial. And that's really not a good word to use because it's really not artificial when we talk about artificial intelligence. Okay? None of it's artificial. It's just a different form of it in respect to the fundamental consciousness unit that holds the first intention for the creation itself, which we understand within Keylontic science is being called the particle. You can call it the God particle, if you will, whatever. Doesn't matter. But it's a consciousness construct. And so it's all internal. My understanding has really always kind of been, I'm not interested in spending too much time with anything. Either I know it or I don't. And this has taken years for me to actually be the way that I am now. So I don't even know if that makes any sense to anybody, but let me just finish my thought and you'll probably get an idea of what I'm saying. So I always look for the bottom line instinctively. It's not even cognitively. I'm doing it instinctively. So I look at, okay, here's the God particle or the particle, whatever. I say, okay, if I understand what this intention is, and which come to understand that rather quickly, then I understand everything else. And without that, you won't understand it. Just because when you start looking at the illusion within the mathematical form, it starts to get more and more and more complex, which can be quite confusing if one is to look at it like that from that perspective. I'm not good with that, so I go, no, that doesn't work for me. What's the intention? I understand what it is. It's a consciousness construct, so it's all internal. Okay, so what's the internal intent? The internal intent is for the benefit of all life. So, okay, what's the structure that we see within this God particle? What is it? And so it breaks down quite fundamentally. It really does in the way that it functions. It just unfolds in different degree, sort of like looking at a Lego and then combining a bunch of other Legos with an intended build. So you have one Lego, or say you have a bunch of them laid out, but you're within your intention in regard to structure, you see it built before it's ever built. And then it assembles. The Legos by themselves don't really tell that much of a picture unless you know what it's capable of doing. It connects from one to another equally. That makes up the whole. Sort of like a drop of water within the ocean, whatever metaphor you want to use. But the particle grid or in the morphogenic field, it all becomes semantics after a while, because certain people kind of camp out on or use certain terminology in a certain way that kind of other people perceive as being nefarious when it's not. It's just words being used in the way of the intent in which the word is being used. As everybody knows here within the United States, well, at least most of us, I would think, the English language is quite weird. Especially when you start going into slang, it starts taking on many, 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 many different definitions behind the intent of the reason why it's being used within a sentence. Certain words that by themselves you would think would be a singular definition turns into something completely different when used in a different intended way. I digress. But the point is that when looking through the simplicity of the encryption of the particle, everything else is to be understood. It's quite simple. My whole premise from what I've been doing in regard to, the structure in relationship to, our multidimensional anatomy, that is the complete structure. It is the complete structure. It is the complete structure. And so my goal has been, okay, well, let's make this simple. And so I've pretty much done all that except for the ceremonial stuff and everything that I'm working on now. That's going to take a while for me to kind of get that together because I can't rush that. Not like I can do the rest of the stuff. I can go through it pretty quickly or formulate it quickly. When it comes to the music and physical things like that and arrangements that takes, for this, it takes especially this because I'm changing keys within it like 5 times, deliberately. I'm modulating and deliberately and so on and so forth. But but it really boils down to understanding it well enough so that your intention is clear. And it's really not that complicated. It's actually quite simple, And my whole thing is I like simple. I don't want to have to be bogged down by stuff that doesn't allow me to move. So I try to move all the stuff out of the way that gets in the way of your intention being clear, And I have, like for the chelantic science, there's no need for me to go past Cathar 1. I didn't even go, let me just say this really clearly. So anybody that may be listening may know exactly where I'm coming from. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with any of this stuff. I didn't need to. And I could see the stuff that you didn't need to do that was being did in order for whatever reasons. I have no idea. And I can explain that, and I can make a case out of it if I had to. So most of what I do is based on what my experiences have been and how I didn't have certain names for them through those experiences. And then chelantic science had some organization to it to where I could say, okay, this is one of the things that happened to me like 15, 20 years prior to chelantic science ever coming along that's spelling this out in a way that now makes sense of it where I can communicate certain things that could be beneficial not only to myself but to other people. But it's really about what we can do that's most simplest. I mean, it's not about a selective elite group or people getting information, and we have the thing, and you speak in what we will speak in all these different terms and using this certain jargon, and it just sounds like a foreign language to somebody else, and they have no idea what you're talking about. I don't like that. I really don't like that. If it needs to be simple for everybody to be able to access it and apply it, in this most simplest way. And that's the reason why over the last 2 years, especially, I've camped out on what is most relevant in regard to you personally, because everybody has within them all that they need. They don't need anything outside of that. And what is it that I can do, that I understand, that I know that can trigger certain things? Maybe that's the wrong word, trigger, but use certain things that sparks that within them, that ignites the flame so that they can connect to it quickly. That's universal, equality. And everybody has that within them, regardless of what the situation is. There's enough for that to come forward without them learning a bunch of stuff. And some of the most profound experiences I ever had, as well as hearing it from other people, don't have any idea about any of this stuff that I've been teaching about, that's within the chelantic science realm. And so I've been integrating about half of the stuff that's within this is me. And I even said that. I've said this several times. This is me. I take some of the stuff, I was trying to stick to it and be, but then I go, no, it's first, you can't forsake yourself. Okay. I've gone through a lot of things. I've earned stuff. Okay. You know what I mean by earned, right? Sure. And you can't, I'm being dismissive of myself, and I'm disrespecting myself not to use and do what I've earned and come to know on a very personal level. That has nothing to do with that necessarily, And again, to emphasize, it goes back to those who are interested. All they have to do is speak from their mouth with their will within them, and that will cause a connection and transformation within them if it's 100%. And they don't need any background concerning anything. They don't, because they used to know all this stuff. They come into a, world of amnesia. So everybody has it is within them. And go back to the construct and wrapping your mind around it and all that. Our multidimensional anatomy, it's really not complicated at all. And it really kind of boils down to 3 aspects of that anatomy. And that is the monad, the azare, and the taran. And that's not complicated either. And that's the reason why I titled the PDF, Love Opens the Door, because that's it. The path to Amaria is the path to divine love, which means reintegrating the love that you've always been. You embody that. And to re-embody that's your gateway for everything. Period. Nothing else works. None of this stuff, all these techniques or none of this stuff, it'll work mechanically. But if you want it, what creates the transmutation is the love. This I know. So it's like, okay, I mean, that sounds simple. It's not so hard. That's, I think, one of the biggest challenges here is to be able to express the love that we've always been here and embody that. That's the real challenge here, So although it sounds simple, it's not that simple, but it is. And then again, at the same time, it is. But it depends on the individual. I've gone through a lot of trauma. There's a lot of things that okay. It's not the same for everybody. But everybody has enough within them, is what I'm saying, the spark, that they don't need to learn anything. They just need the desire, and they can make the connection. That's really what I'm trying to say. And to understand the construct is really just look at the simplicity of the particle, the encryption of it. And once you get that, once the light bulb kind of goes on with that, which doesn't take very much, it's kind of like moving out of your way and just allowing the simplicity to come through. And they go, oh, okay. I was way overcomplicating this stuff, Because when you go into the geometry and the math and everything in regards to the construct and the design and light contours and all this other stuff, and yes, it's very mathematical and it's very complex, But that's not the heart of what should be for me, for what I come to understand and have learned early on, where we should be giving our attention to or our energy towards. We should need to feel into the simplicity, and it's already within us. It's already there. It's this externalization. We're using mind energy when we should be just feeling into it and just saying within ourselves, I already know this. I know it. And when you start to say that, I already know this. I already know this. I know this. And when you really say it, when you really believe yourself saying, when you're saying that, is when you start feeling it. And it really kind of boils down to the simplicity of those things like that. It's renewing our minds and practicing those things that seem kind of silly sometimes, or can be seen as silly. That's really what I'm saying from the outside. But that's only because that on the outside doesn't know anything other than the illusion, right? And everything is about what's taking place within us, not on the external aspect of things that we're observing through the phenomenon. I wish for someone to win $1 million, and they did a few months later. I don't know if I'm reading better. I don't even or should I say I'm seeing better. When I said it, but it ended up, oh, yeah, that'll happen. I think that's a very common thing. Okay. Just to let you know. I've had people, say things to me and make promises. And I'm the type of person, if I'm going to do something, I'll do it. Unless I forget. Well, usually I don't forget, but here, because I'm getting kind of old, I kind of forget stuff. But my word is my word. And it's like, it's to me that I made it. And it's important that if I said it to somebody else, okay, it's done. Even though it's not, I didn't do it. I haven't done it yet, but it's done. That's the way it is. It doesn't matter. That gets done. And I will do it as especially if it's like an immediate type of thing, somebody personally that you're physically connected with, within real time. I will do it. I will do it that moment if I can. Okay. But I have a hard time when people say things to me like they're going to do stuff. I take their word for what it is. And then they don't do it, or they backpedal and pretend like they never said it. I don't know what it is within me. That really eats at me. And I will struggle with that for like days. I had somebody made a promise to me here not too long ago here that lives around here that I've known for years. And they're leaving. Okay. They're going back home, and they brought something up and made a promise to me. And I told them, I said, well, I accept that. I thank you. And they backpedaled. I can tell by their energy. I read energy pretty easily. And he, not she, backpedaled on that. I can tell that they're not going to do what they said they were going to do. And I felt pretty offended by that. And I kept constantly trying to say, push it out of the way and just erase it. Say, it's okay. It's all right. They can be like this. And it just wasn't enough, man, because there was something else in me that was because I was abandoned when I was younger. And there's a lot of different things that I still hold within me that I've been like, confession time, right? Whatever. There's a lot of things that we hold All right. And we're not aware of it. And given enough time, we're able to start seeing it and try to heal it. It's a process, man. There's so no condemnation. Feelings, they are what you are. We just deal with them the best way that we can, even when they're kind of hard to deal with. And don't. What I tried not to do is beat myself up, and I've done plenty of that. I've I've hated myself. I mean, literally. I actually, one of the things I got start feeling that was repressive energy, because it's thought form becomes a crystallization within your body, and it can form within certain aspects of your within your anatomy and your organs and stuff. And because of the way things have the suffering that I've gone through and everything, I kind of hated my body. Um, I'm not kind. I really did hate my body for some time, and that turned into just me hating me. And that's one of the things I have been dealing with here recently. That's been coming up, and so I embraced it. I go, well, I hate myself. That's important for you to accept it, so that you can deal with it. You start pushing. Well, no, that's not. I don't hate me. No, there's that feeling's there for a reason. So deal with it. Bring it up. Let it do its thing. If you go into a fit of rage, go through it into a fit of rage over it. You need to work it out. Hopefully you can do it in private. You don't want to really get a whole lot of attention with what you're doing when you're going through these things. But a lot of people are actually at this stage, it seems like, going through a lot of this stuff, and it's part of the thing. Yeah, forgiveness is easy only if you can forgive yourself. You got to understand, programming also plays a huge part into all that. So forgiveness you first have to forgive yourself before you can forgive anybody else, really. You can forgive other people just through the process of doing it, right? But what remains is what's going on with you. For some certain individuals, some stuff runs really, really deep, and mine goes through other lifetimes. You want to call it other lifetimes, that's fine. But mine goes of I've noticed this from the very beginning of this incarnation. I carried a lot of stuff into this incarnation, huge amounts of stuff. Okay? I carried other beings in my biofield within this incarnation. Not everybody's the same. We're the same equally, but we're not all different. And my time here has been a lot different than a lot of other people that I know, and I don't even know anybody that's similar. That doesn't make me anything other than just me. Okay? That's all I'm saying. And so me being able to do what I've been doing and coming to understand with what I'm saying, and like I hate myself and all this, that runs deep. I'm sitting here like beside myself, so to speak, and I'm feeling this within me. And I'm going, okay, I hate myself. Or at the time, I can't say that now. I don't feel that way now, but I felt it in that moment. Okay? So what I've learned, and let me explain this because this is really important. I have to remind myself of these things that I have even gone through. When I was going through panic attacks years ago, one of the times that happened, and it was pretty intense, one of the times that it happened, and I told this story before, I was on the freeway driving. And anybody who knows what this is that's really the bad place for that to happen. Okay? And what I decided right then and there, I said, okay, this is done. What I did, and I used the same analogy that I talked about earlier about falling into yourself. I fell into that panic. I fell into whatever that energy was that was causing it. I surrendered myself to it. And when I did, it transmuted. So when I was in my bedroom and I'm feeling that I hate myself and all this stuff, I know where it's coming from. I know where the trauma is coming from. I know what that is. So I accept it. Okay? I accept it. When I don't accept it, it creates a magnetism repulsion. It doesn't resolve itself. It doesn't allow for transmutation because there's resistance. And me forgiving myself had, no offense, had nothing to do with it. Had to do with deep wounded trauma. I'm talking about like an open gashed wound type of trauma within you that has been going on for a very long time. I've been bedridden twice in this lifetime. I've been sick from the early stages of my life. High fevers. I should be a vegetable. That's how high the fevers were. Okay? I passed out, wiped out. I would fall against things, knock things over, pull drawers off the dresser drawer, hit it. I've been really, really sick in this lifetime, and I shouldn't be as well functioning as well as I am now. Okay? I've overcome quite a bit. But all this stuff is recessive. I've been screwed with from other beings implanted. It's a long, long story. And I get kind of adamant about this because it's not as simple as it always seems to be, you know? It's the reason why I preach love and I preach the idea of reintegration and all these things, because a lot of the stuff that I can't do, I would like, and I know it works, but my situation's a bit different than most. I know it will work for a lot of other people, and that's the reason why I do communicate it. For me, I got a bit more to go because, again, my road has been a little bit more rocky than most. You know, just calling it for what it is. I'm not going to be, have false humility here. Nobody has time for that nonsense. But long story short is what I'm saying was, and I don't mean to be offensive to anybody, especially Zach, because Zach's just awesome brother. There's always more. So hence the reason for me really wanting everything to be as simple as it can be, and keep reminding myself and keep trying to take those things that are presented as not simple, but knowing that they should be, and because it's about liberation. My brothers and my sisters need to be liberated, and anything that I can do, I'll do. If I'm not liberated, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I've suffered and endured a lot of things, and it is what it is. And it's not fun, but it's more important for me to be able to share and give to those that can move forward, exponentially, hopefully. Because we're all here really for one another. That's really what again, I guess that's the emphasize. We're here, boots on the ground, right? We're the way showers. We are the way showers. We are the way showers. What we say and what we do here is what matters the most. Everybody else just follows, if you know what I'm saying. So our brothers and sisters flying around and whatever they're at, whoever they're, doesn't really matter. What we do here comes first and foremost, and we need to appeal to one another and to co-create with one another. And have respect for one another. And as we do that, the glory of what we do here will be seen in all life. So we're very powerful and we're very significant. Like I said, our divinity here is not any less than it is anywhere else. Okay, or for anything else. Our divinity here, by some beings, what we're doing here is highly honored, and as it should be. Yeah, outside of this construct, things are a lot different. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, I'm in the process of healing. I am not healed. The way I look at it is when you're healed, you're 100%. And at that stage, you transmute, and then I leave. It's like my work is done. But, well, I have the option to leave, put it that way. At this stage, I don't. Well, yeah, if you come into it weak, you go out of it pretty strong. But in reality, none of us are weak. It's just very trying here. It's the vessel that we're in. It's the station of identity. It's very difficult to be here, but we're here because we wanted to be, and this goes back to the love that we feel and connect to, and who we are as a love being. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Um, I'm I'll stay here as long as you want me to. um, I mean, whatever I can share or offer, whatever. That's. You guys want to listen to any music or something? Well, here's the thing, and it's interesting that you brought that up about animals. Um, Here's the thing: animals are subdivisions of soul. Nothing's better than one another in regard to life. What life is. Okay, this is something I've been like crusading on for quite a while because there seems to be this indifference about like if something has a face, it's better than something that doesn't have a face, and things that are so-called inanimate or lesser than the things that are not inanimate. It just I don't care for that. That just makes no sense to me. All right, because it's not true. But certain people, I would have to say this applies to every single person who is an incarnate as a human, regardless of what their soul origination is within this construct, that their first obligation here is to other humans, not to animals, because of just the station of that embodiment in that identity, animals follow humans. So the first thing is to minister to the humans, then everything else will follow suit. Everything will follow in the proper order. But a lot of people this has been my experience, will leave their service to humanity to go to animals. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but why can't you do both? And the reason why they don't do both is because it's easier to deal with animals than it is to people. So here's the thing. On a soul level, if they started off by being of service to humanity and stepped away from it because it was inconvenient or whatever it may happen for them, on a soul level, they will still be obligated to themselves to do what they intended to do from the beginning. You don't run away from yourself. And I try to, and have tried to, encourage others that I've seen do that on a personal, that I've known them very personally, and they get really pissy. Some of them can. And I've experienced that here within the last few weeks. I tried to resolve some karmic indifference, and it just turned into something other than what my intention was. They didn't make it easy, that's for sure. But you fight against yourself is what you end up doing. And here's the other thing that I've noticed as far as with myself, and this applies to all of us because there's a certain aspect to this that's just part of what the will is in regard to our personal intention. If you step away from the things that you know to be the things that are the reasons for your, or I'm grappling for words here. This is what you've intended, okay? And if you step away from it, your mind will start to go dark because you're walking away from your illumination. Okay. And because of that, you'll end up falling back into certain habit patterns and certain mindset, and you'll forget the things that you used to know. Because what I found, especially as I'm getting older, I have to remind myself, renewing my mind. I have to do that on an ongoing basis, ongoing. And if you fall out of the habit of doing that because you stepped away from your commission call to yourself, the reason why you're here, if you step away from that, you start to darken in your mind, and you don't practice the things that you would be doing to facilitate the reason for your intention being here, which is the service of humanity. And because there's an order to things, and the animals will follow the humans. It's just the order of it. Okay. Now, animals are souls. Okay. They're a subdivision of energy, and without going into the idea of what it means to come into a construct, you don't necessarily start off by being a particular embodiment. You start within the most minuscule aspect of conscious expression, and that can be simply through the partikai, which is not to be less than anything or greater than anything, because nothing really is, but there is stages within manifest reality from which you are experiencing self differently that allows for the depth of the experience in order for your expansion and your contribution as a co-creator within it, as well as a source creator. And that goes into another area in regard to creating your own light constructs, becoming a prime creator within a particular field. But a long story short is that you can't walk away from yourself, because you're responsible to yourself, and I found a lot of people doing that here, and they're difficult to be able. It becomes difficult to be able to talk or try to, come to some reason, because they're defensive, and unfortunately for me, because I'm I wouldn't even call myself an empath, because I'm more than an empath. I get knocked out because of other people's energy if I get too close to them, because I take on a lot of the stuff that they have, and I wear it for a very long time. It's quite the story. I don't want. That's not the reason for me bringing this up. I'm just saying we're accountable to ourselves in respect to the animals. So our first ministry is to the people, is to the humans here. Oh, okay. I'm going to read some of your stuff, guys. I go into what I go into, and I'm not thinking through my mind. I'm thinking through my heart and my spirit. So I'll go into this place where I'm kind of not paying attention to anything except for I'm just in that moment. So I have to go back and read something, read some of the stuff that you had written here, so I can be up to date with what you're saying. Okay. Wouldn't be surprised if it's weak. Okay. Oh, okay. I read most of it. All right. Okay. Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Yeah. Well, okay, Ash, I guess you'd already taken off. All right. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much for your contribution and all the things that you've shared here. I just want to make sure that you hear that if you hear this on a playback. Okay, folks, I'm going to go ahead and play a couple things and then go out on with some music. I'll go out with the love that we have always been. And for those who wish to be part of Saturday workshop, which is going to begin to become a workshop at this point, you probably want to go over to Patreon. All the links, everything you can find about myself, contact information, will be found within the description of this video, as well as all the videos that I have on my YouTube channel. Well, thank you, Ash. I'm glad that you came back in and chimed in before you left. I'm going to leave with a couple things here, and so I'm going to play a reminder of something that comes from my book, Picking Apples Under the Milky Way, the incarnate reflections of Randy Keith. That would be me. And then go out with the love that we have always been, one of the versions of that song that I had written a couple of years ago. However long it's been a while, but it's very comforting. So thank you, folks, and we'll see you when we'll see you, I suppose.
To know you are a creator is to understand the responsibility that comes with it. Free will may be a gift, but it certainly comes with the cost of accountability, for within this construct of at one meant, what one creates affects the many. Here within this fallen reality field embodying unconditional love becomes the greatest challenge. Navigating through a fallen world with the intent to assist for the betterment of that world can be extremely difficult. And then you begin to realize it's not about struggling, laborious effort, or sacrifice, but rather it's about using the creative imagination, being truly present in the moment, and letting go. Through a simple proclamation, we may reset our intention. Quote, I am a wonderful co-creative being that works through loving intention of the creative imagination. Being in manifest reality and at the same time being perceptive of oneself as the embodied expression of the source is the state of true self-actualization. This creates the competent ability of unwavering, unconditional love. It is also important to understand that our genuine, unique, sovereign expression really does matter, and this isn't about mimicking or surrendering to someone or something. This is about our true self-realization, the love we've always been. We are amazing co-creative beings which work through loving intention of the creative imagination. The body we are in is an instrument in need of repair. In order to play our soul's composition, one's manifest blueprint must accommodate the perpetual life force currents necessary for restoration and the fine-tuning of our instrument. The gift of free will requires co-creative personal attention for such repair. This is not about waiting around for someone or something to show up and fix us. We are in this reality field because our intention at some point put us on this soul's journey's path, so personal responsibility is required. If we are looking to heal spiritually, then it's an everyday in-the-moment process of renewing the mind to that which is true self. So again, let us define what is true self so that we may allow the ability to heal. So true self is understood as that which is transcendent of identity, outside of that which is called manifest reality, that is to say, outside of any creation field. We are the essence of all life. We are the ancients of pre-creation. We are truly that which defies description. But if we are to be defined, we would be best summarized as the highest and most beautiful expression of love. It is so important that one knows this love is their true eternal nature. Yes, in our infinite state, we are a formless non-entity, all-knowing, all-powerful. But what is the substance that makes up our very being? The greatest energy that there is or ever will be, pure love. Our soul's pure composition is our transcendent love song. We must continually practice our song that we may be ready to perform at any moment. This is our greatest challenge in this world, the process of reintegrating the love we have always been. reintegrating our true energetic nature. True self creates the process of metamorphosis unto transformation, which is our ascending love. We are the highest and most beautiful expression of love. In all things, let us renew our minds to this eternal truth. We are the love that has always been. Be kind to yourself. In turn, you'll be kind to others. Know self, feeling free within yourself to say this out loud slowly, contemplatively, and without any reservation. I am love. And remember, practice makes known the perfection you really are, the highest and most beautiful expression of love.